Hello.
Hi. Apologies.
You're in.
Yeah, let me switch off the light. Hold on a second.
No, same problem.
Let's see if that's going to be any better. Not the greatest of lights, but
No, it's all right. We can see each other.
We can work with that.
We can, as long as you can see the screen.
Yes.
Right. So well done for posting. Good. Well done.
Thank you.
How have you found it so far?
Yeah, good. I wanted to post today, but I've only got access to my phone, so I'm speaking to you on my phone because we've had internet problems. And unless you open the group on a laptop, it seems, I think you maybe don't get all the tabs on top, or sometimes you do, sometimes you don't on your phone. So I couldn't find the place where I'd posted the first one, and then I did those two from the day before and the next day. So I wanted to ask you exactly where they are. I'll make a note of it.
You mean on a phone or in the group?
Maybe in the group, because then I can find it from then onwards. I can have a look.
In the group, you need to, so sorry, let me just check it. Are you talking about the Zoom link, or are you talking about where to post?
The where to post.
Okay, you need to click on find, because it does hide things from you usually, but if you can find the tab that says discussion. Okay,
I thought I went there. And is it just under discussion, as easy as that?
Well, Facebook's never as easy as that, is it? But yes, in theory. What I mean, I still find it a very frustrating platform, if I'm honest. But because what happens sometimes, if you go in, you know, say from a notification, you click on, you think, oh, I'll find it that way.
That's right, yeah.
It just shows you the one post that you've gone to. It doesn't show you anything else.
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah, so I have learned through trial and error that, let me just grab my phone to check what I'm telling you. I did discover that you need to go in and check on, oh, my phone's timed out on me.
Yeah, not just through a notification, but to actually open Facebook, go into the group, go into, say, for instance,
yeah. So
I'll give that a go.
Yeah, even it's my group. I can't, I have to search for the group. And then when I go in the group, so I'm looking at the group now, and it's not that you'll be able to see this properly, but it's not immediately apparent. You have to just scroll these tabs until you find the one. And that's interesting. That's interesting.
That's interesting, because when you said go to events and it's in there, I was able to find that. I think sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't on my phone. And maybe it depends on how I go into it, whether I'm going in through a notification or whether I'm going through, I'll play around. But if I know that it's under discussion, because I wanted to post today, but...
well, you see, I'm saying that and it's not showing me discussion at the moment. And I've heard people that are expert, they go, oh, it's not showing me. So I think I think there are glitches in Facebook that it doesn't always show you what you need.
I know from my walking group that I've been part of for about 6 months, they would put events up and loads of us wouldn't be able to see it on our phone. So if you already had Facebook open and you went back in, it wouldn't show those events. But if you've closed Facebook down and went into a new browser and logged in, then it would. So I think we might just need to play around with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a year from now, I probably will use a completely different platform. I think a lot of people are going off Facebook. I've never liked it.
What are you going to say? A year from now, we'll have got the hang hang of it.
No, I'll have left it behind and go, do you know what? I don't use it. I'm using something else. But for the meantime, you know,
For the meantime, it's what we use.
It is. Right. So today, I was going to do a bit of screen sharing with a whiteboard, but given that you're looking at a phone, that's probably not going to be the most helpful thing. So I have some props. So what I want to do today is, actually, before I say anything else, when you do go back in and make your post, can you make sure that today you put in your scale of 0 to 10 where you feel like you are?
Yes, because Tuesdays are the scale of 10, aren't they?
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
that way we can track your progress, and what you'll find is most of the time it will be moving upwards. Some weeks it will stay static. Very, very, very rarely does someone dip back, but if they do, they'll come back up again really quickly. But it just gives us that tracking, because when you're experiencing it, it's a bit like growing. Like, you don't notice yourself growing.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So that's really important. Now, let me get my props. Hold on a moment. Oh, you can hear all the rattling. Oh, goodness. Just caused chaos. The only reason I've got these props is that because just to give you something visual, so it's not just listening to me. So here is my
visual.
My bucket.
Oh, of eggs or ping pong balls.
Ping pong balls. So for the time being, what we're going to talk about today, this is setting the groundwork for every single thing we do. Now, in fact, you might even share this with some of the people you speak to. You will undoubtedly have come across stress buckets. I'm sure you have. Yeah. So I'm revisiting stuff you already know. Good. But I know I've done this with lots of people who have mental health backgrounds, and I think the way I do it just gives you a slightly different perspective on it that you can move forwards with. But also, as you know, with mental well-being, the more you repeat something that's helpful, the better. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So this is our stress bucket. This is all the stress we put in it. I want to define stress. It's a physical response. So I know you know this. So just bear with me if I'm not teaching you to suck eggs.
Oh, no, it's always good to hear it again. And everyone's take is slightly different or from a different perspective. And that is what is helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah. So go for it.
Okay. So when I'm talking about stress, some people, I know you won't be one of them, but sometimes people go, oh, I'm not stressed, or they associate stress with specific situations and environments. So I'm stressed if I have a busy job. I'm stressed if I have a lot of responsibility. And it's quite common, especially in menopause, for people to go, there's no reason why I'm not stressed. There's nothing going on here. So that's what this session is about. It's about just understanding, okay, that's not necessarily the case. Because stress is a physical response to emotion. Let me define that, okay? This is why, not that I'm great with a whiteboard, but let me give it a go. Let me see. And I'm really not good at these, so let's just...
No, just go for it.
Share screen, whiteboard. Okay, so when we're under stress, so I said it's a physical response to emotion. What happens is heart rate goes up. Actually, I don't need this for the time being. I'll come back to this in a minute. Let me get my screen back. Oh, Lordy.
I need to learn how to do that for my work.
I know. The trouble is I've got so many windows open. I really shouldn't. Or maybe I'm forcing myself to use it now. Okay. No. I'm shutting it down. Forget that for a second.
Yep.
I was going to draw something, but I'm just going to do it with my hands, okay? Hand signals, that works for me. So when we're stressed, the physical response, we get a heart rate elevation, we will get sweat elevation, we will get digestion slowing down. So there's a whole host of other physical responses we know that go on, but if we just stick with those for the moment. So elevation of heart rate, elevation of sweat production, and reduction in processing of food, basically. So as you know, when we talk about the stress buckets, in simple terms, as long as we don't put too many of these bits of stress in our buckets, and we have the right amount of REM sleep when we go to bed at night, then we will remain in balance. We will be happy, calm, coping, capable individuals that we know we can be. Now, you may know about REM, but a lot of people don't understand REM. So let me just say that for the purpose of the fact that this is a recorded video. So REM is rapid eye movement. When we go to sleep at night, a lot of people think that if they experience sleep, in other words, they know that they don't wake up in the night, they think that they've had a good night's sleep. So I always ask a caveat question when I ask people about sleep, which is, do you wake up feeling refreshed? Right.
Hell no.
Hell no. No. That's the answer that I get. And so what's happening is there's an imbalance. What that generally, in very broad-based terms, is that if we don't overfill the bucket and we have an adequate amount of REM sleep, the REM is our mental process for emptying that bucket. So as we go through REM sleep, which takes our brain into a different state of functioning, it only happens in short bursts through the night, around, we think, about 20 minutes at a time. It will metaphorically, in fact, not metaphorically, it will move short-term emotional memory into long-term narrative memory. In other words, a stress linked to an emotion is something like feel today. Any feeling, good or bad, will create that elevation in heart rate and sweat production. So we can see that even a high, when we talked a little last time about excitement, how that can be a stress. It's a nice feeling, but we don't want to be experiencing it all the time. So we get those elevations. We want to move that memory out of an emotional place into a place where we can no longer feel it, we just talk about it. So whatever I felt today, if I was angry at someone or upset, whatever I've experienced, I want to wake up tomorrow and go, oh, you never guess what happened yesterday. And I tell the story with no emotional attachment to it at all. That's how we've got the evidence that our brain has completely emptied that bucket. There's loads of other evidence, but let's just stick with some basic building blocks for now. So let me just go into REM a little bit more. The reason we have short bursts of REM, we think, in fact, this is probably likely, is that when we're in REM state, the brain uses up a vast amount of energy, such that if we were to continue that through the night, we would wake up more exhausted than when we went to bed. So we think we're sleeping, we think we're doing nothing, but actually it's as if, like, the lights is all very quiet and dim, and then REM kicks in and it's like someone's put on the disco lights. Oh, we're partying. So it's having a good time emptying those balls from the bucket. Right. I actually there's a lovely video which is in the Midlife Reinvention program. If you watch it, it's not me, I just love the way the guy explains it, but he draws beautifully on his flip chart.
Nice.
He draws a lovely little tap here on the bucket, which is his explanation of REM. The REM is the tap that releases from the bucket. So we also have, so I'll let you catch up with your nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So REM is one of the core elements for emptying that bucket and maintaining our sense of calm and well-being. So that's number one, really important. I won't digress. I don't need to digress massively, but you'll already have spotted all the elephants in this room of menopause, like how much it impairs sleep, not just with stress, but with the physical
With physical sensation.
effects of, oh my God, I'm drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
You know, and that does obviously have an impact, because if you're constantly being woken up by the fact that you feel uncomfortable, you feel hot, you're throwing the bedclothes off, you're putting them back on.
Without a doubt, it disturbs your sleep. And I'm a really light sleeper. So every time I'm hot and I turn over and I have to turn my pillow to the cool side, it just, it wakes me up a bit. It disturbs my
Exactly.
sleep. Mm.
So we can already see, like we're building up here, we can see some of the reasons why that stress bucket starts to, like, the emptying process gets a little bit tipped out of kilter. So the next one we come on to, you know, I've spoken about before, is serotonin. So serotonin is the other part of the equation, or one other part of the equation. So if we have good REM sleep and we produce a goodly level of serotonin, then that maintains our calm ability to cope during the day while we're accumulating that potential stress. So it means it kind of, it's like our inoculation, if you like, from low level stress. It's like, I can't be bothered with that, which is what we want. But we know that when we become stressed, things that used to not bother us suddenly start to be really annoying.
Yeah.
You know, which is why we get the mood swings. You know, we might be crying one minute, shouting the next, apologizing, you know, oh, and our poor partners, you know, oh, which version am I gonna, like, they have no idea what to do, bless them. And we can't tell them because we don't know either.
It's funny, my husband told me he prefers me angry to weepy, because I was weepy before the hysterectomy.
Yeah.
Post-hysterectomy, I'm in menopause and I'm angry. But he says he prefers that because he can just ignore the anger. When I was weepy, he didn't know what to do.
Well, he might be able to ignore the anger, but he's not necessarily on safe ground there.
No.
So if you think about this equation, we've got, if I were drawing my arrows on my whiteboard, I really must master that whiteboard. I've got the arrow for stress going up, serotonin brings it down, REM sleep brings it down. So if we've got too much stress, we know that the REM can't keep up with it. We desperately need that serotonin to support us. I'm just looking at my notes because I as you know, I tend not to be structured. The way I deliver things.
No, I like it. I like it. I don't do structured either, Shirley.
No, but we okay. So when we got unresolved surplus, I got loads more balls upstairs. But imagine I put way too many in here. We end up in that catch-22 of, now I'm accumulating more of that stress than will actually fit in the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the catch-22 is that the very act of accumulating more stress than fits in the bucket impairs my sleep and reduces my serotonin production, because it starts to trigger the primitive anxiety stress response mechanism. So I start to engage in emotional drama, if you like, that comes from my primitive brain. So I become more angry, I become more upset, I become more anxious. And all of that feeds a thought process that leads to a negative emotion. So I feel bad because I feel bad, effectively.
Yes, it's like a hamster wheel, really. It's perpetuating.
Yeah. So even if we just had one extra, if we started off with just one, how could one hurt? You know, like them. Like after 8, it's just a wafer thin.
It's never just one.
No, just the one. But if we have the capacity to empty, you know, 99 and we add in 100, then we've got 1 left over. And then the next night we've got capacity to empty 99, and now we've got 101. And then next night at 99, and now we've got 102. So it doesn't take long before we start finding ourselves less able to cope, which impacts on the very things that are there to help us. So that's when we trigger the modern fight or flight. And too much unresolved surplus leads to an elevation, an increase in negative thinking. So we get caught up in the, the worst case future. Oh no, it'll all go horribly wrong. Oh, I knew it won't work. I can't do this. That
Absolutely.
kind of storytelling. Or, oh God, I wish I hadn't done this, or I wish I hadn't done that. I wish you hadn't done whatever. So the minute we notice ourselves having those thoughts, we know something's going wrong with, the bucket equation is out of kilter.
Out of sync, yeah.
And this is where it gets really bad, because the story, as I said, when we feel bad, we feel worse. Like we feel bad about feeling bad. Then we start to fill the bucket, not just with the things that happen. So let's say we start filling the bucket with I couldn't, something really small. And I think it's important to focus on the small things. So, I couldn't take the dog across that field today because it was flooded.
Yeah.
I really like walking down that field. So it's just a tiny thing. But that could potentially become a stress. And if you've got impaired sleep, reduced serotonin, and then you think just a little thought like that, that can feed another little thought, which won't be a good thought. It will be, I really hate it when it floods. And when it floods, and then I remember the last time it flooded, oh God, and then the kitchen got, do you know what I mean? We start
definitely
to create this story.
You make a mountain of a molehill, basically.
Completely, which, as you say that, that's the logical brain going, for goodness sake, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Which sounds like a sensible thing to do, because logically speaking, you think, what I want to do is re-engage my logical brain, my prefrontal cortex. If I can access that and do that, then I can sort this problem out. We'll all be fine. It makes perfect sense. The trouble is, once you've created the imbalance, the very act of the logical prefrontal cortex saying things like, are you making a mountain out of a molehill, is received in the subconscious part of the brain, the fight, flight, or freeze response, as another uncomfortable negative emotion, because it's our inner critic kicking off. And I think it always helps to imagine it as an external person going, like, you're getting stressed about something, someone says, oh, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. That can lead to you feeling bad about the fact that that's what's been said.
Yeah, absolutely. Your feelings aren't validated. Somebody's telling you it's wrong.
Only it's our own mind that's not validating the feeling, or that's how it feels. So effectively, your logical conscious mind, in trying to provide a bit of advice that it thinks will help, trying to solve the problem because that's what it's driven to do, makes the problem worse. So it's as if you got into that hole, it's handed you a spade and says, here, love, dig yourself in a bit deeper. And that's when thoughts become things. So the initial, reality, if you like, was there was an actual thing that happened. The field's flooded, I can't take the dog there. So that's an event that's occurred. But then there's all these attached stories that are not events that have occurred. They're just thoughts. But because they provoke an emotion, they need to go in the bucket. So now we've had perhaps one event with, sprouting, like it accumulates faster than COVID. A whole host of other thoughts that now are effectively things, which is why we talk about, that's why we talk about the brain not distinguishing between what's really happening and what we think about happening. Because the thought process that matters that I think people perhaps sometimes fail to clarify is it's like I could have a thought could randomly cross my head, and so could you, of oh, I wonder what I might have for dinner. Like, and it might be, it's not a thought I'm going to engage with particularly. It's just a thought, and it's in and it's out and it's gone. Not an issue. It's thoughts that are attached to feelings, which is why I make the distinction about the emotion. So any thought that generates an attached emotion becomes a thing.
Yeah, I can see that. That's clear. You've explained that well. Yeah.
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 But there's no room in the bucket, because remember, we've already filled that. So we're exponentially increasing the excess while still having impaired REM, enough of that, and while still having reduced serotonin, because we're in that menopausal state, we're not producing as much of it as we used to.
Yeah.
And the minute that happens, we're also, our brains stop. So we know that estrogen impairs serotonin, but so does stress. Stress replaces serotonin and dopamine production with adrenaline and cortisol production. You can't simultaneously produce adrenaline and serotonin.
Okay.
So it's like,
you're being a twat. Stop it. Sorry.
It's almost like our brain is bricking up the escape routes. Like,
yes, it does feel like that. It feels like everywhere you turn, there's just these shutters coming down.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm painting such a black picture. It's like, well, how?
Yeah, it's doom. It's really doom and gloom. Thank you, Shirley.
Yes, don't worry. There's a way out. There's a way out. So the way out, I'm going to show you my little, rather than me whiteboard it. Scribble is all I do. I don't do drawing. Okay, so here's my scribble. Can you see? They're just wavy lines and little dots.
Wavy lines going out, yeah.
Okay, that's my drawing of synaptic connections and neural pathways.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I knew that. I knew that.
So we know that brains love repetition. Love it, love it, love it. Doesn't matter which way it goes, though. So our brains are completely ambivalent. Like, I don't care. You take me down the dark path or you take me down the light path. I don't care.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's really crazy. They're actually pretty fucking stupid. Brains. We think we're so clever, but, you know, this thing of not being able to distinguish between reality and fantasy, or whether it's the dark side or the light side, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But maybe that's put on this earth to sort, you know, to figure it all out.
Well, they think I say they, who are they?
Who are they?
You know, it's rationalized in terms of the primitive brain by the sort of survival mechanism before we entered this extraordinarily bonkers modern world we live in, where it would be extraordinarily helpful to have your brain anticipate danger before the danger's there, so that you can take avoiding action. No,
I get that, but seriously, we've been out of that for so many thousands of years. Surely it could have caught up by now.
You know what? Darwin needs a good pasting with a wet fish.
A kipper.
Right, mate. But what is really joyful about the way we approach this is we go, okay, the brain doesn't care. It's totally ambivalent. It will give you dark side, light side, positive neural pathways, negative neural pathways. It doesn't care. So we go, so what's the process it likes to follow? How do we work with it?
With it, yeah.
Rather than against it, which is what most people try to do. Most of us are trying to like steer it in a different direction, do that logical self-talk that goes, right, pull yourself together, you know, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? Unhelpful. Remember, hole, spade, digging. No.
Yes.
That's the classic, because the prefrontal cortex, remember, can only process maximum of 5. I'm really pushing it, around 5 to 7 things at any one time. Whereas the subconscious, millions. You do millions of things. So it is kind of mad that the part of the brain that can do less processing and do it less quickly is trying to create some kind of order in the part of the brain that's like multiple universes. Like, how does that work? That doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
So we go, okay, well, how do you like to work? I like to work with repetition. Like, repetition is important. So we're going to reverse engineer it. We know it creates naturally synaptic connections, but it's got to have enough of the synaptic connections. If you imagine, I'm trying to think of a good visual analogy, which is really difficult with words, isn't it? So imagine you're in this vast open space and you're trying to create oh, I know, this might not be your thing, but imagine you're setting up a marathon, a route. So you're going to a marathon event coming along and you need to lay out a route for them, but it's in the middle of the desert. So there's no markers, there's nothing. You've got to lay out a route that the runners will know where to go. But if you put down one marker a mile into the race and another marker 3 miles into the race and another marker 5 miles in, your runners are going to be running around in circles, not knowing. They might randomly find one, but they're not actually going to easily find the route.
Stop.
Is that the dog? What's he doing? Or is it he or she?
Baby Jesus. So Simmons gets his back leg and puts it in his mouth and lifts him up. So baby Jesus is then tottering on his 2 front legs with his ass up in the air because Simmons is underneath him, lifting him up with his head, holding his leg in his jaw. That's how we roll. That's how we roll in this house.
Yeah, that's fine. He's obviously, yeah, he knows how to get attention.
Sorry about that. They're
It's all
just
right.
crazy. Okay, so I've got the visual. Desert markers. We need to set out a route so the runners can clearly follow 26 miles.
Exactly. So what we start to do is little by little, and that's why it's really important to remember it's the small stuff that matters. The small stuff
keep
matters.
reminding me of that all the way through, because that is where my overwhelm comes from, Shirley. That's where I get stuck. Is that
Right.
it's always these big things. You know, I need to rein it in, and I need to do small little things first.
So it's about beginning by celebrating those small things. And I know loads of people talk about this and we talk about gratitude and celebrating small wins. But if you connect it to, like, all of that is great stuff, but why? Why is because your brain needs repetition and evidence, and it's got to have lots of it.
Okay.
So those little bits of evidence, let's say, for example, you count a small win as I was able to ignore the dog for 5 minutes. I was able to ignore the dog. And you might think, well, that's no big deal, but that becomes important because those little things are going to happen quite frequently. Now, as we're shifting from the very powerful neural pathways, the strong, the map is for this particular marathon is laid out really well. Oh, it's crafted and there's, paint lines and there's someone's, created some curbs. Oh, it's completely beautifully laid out. That one's fine. And so it needs that repetition of more of these small things, because it's very, very easy in the early stages to just swing back. Like, we want to go this way. Oh, yeah, but we'll go that way. It's easier. No, we're going this way. Oh, but that's easier.
Absolutely.
That's why we remain focused at every step on the smallest of things. And so my job in helping you through this is to help you keep focused on that. So it's not all about you have to do this, you do, but I'm here to help you. So when we get engaged in conversation, when you make those posts on Facebook, you are giving information to your brain, you're laying down markers that enable it to start seeing what the route is, what the new route is.
Okay. So those new markers then, they are just I say just.
Yeah,
They are just positive, almost not affirmations, but positive successes. What is it I'm teaching? What is the point? What is it that I'm teaching my brain? If I do lots of these little markers, lots of these little successes, yes, I did this well today, later I did this well today. What am I telling my brain? What is my brain going to do with that information? How's that going to swing things round? Does that make sense?
I'll answer the how bit, but I'm gonna leave. I want you to park the what for now.
Okay.
Leave the what for now to me.
Okay.
The reason you're on this coaching program working with me and not just going through midlife reinvention is just to let go of the load. It's like, you don't have to think too hard about this. All right.
I love that. Honestly, that is like music to my ears. It's like the best thing anybody could say to me.
Good. Good.
Let go of the load. Lovely.
Yeah. It doesn't mean I won't be asking you to do things, but you just try, this is a partnership. So even if there were 10 of us in this group, which, had I got my arse into gear, there would be, but it would be a partnership between each of us. So it's just about me asking the right questions, you responding, and that's fundamentally it. So on Friday, what we'll do is a nice chilled hypnosis type session based on stuff that has meaning for you. And you just have to kind of go with the process. As long as you do the things that I'm asking you to do, like your posting, coming up with your numbers, doing some of these things, please don't overload yourself with a list of things you have to do, because you don't. It literally, honestly, I don't care if it's just one small thing you notice in a week, and that's fine. We will make the progress.
Okay.
So all I'm doing is telling you about the process right now. I'm not saying right now you go do it.
Good.
But you'll be amazed at how quickly you will start to put down these markers without even realizing you've been putting the markers down. You will begin to notice, you will begin to think about things differently. You will begin to go, oh, that's interesting. I didn't fire off at that, or, oh, I did that. I haven't done that for ages, or, a nice thing. You will notice changes. And that's how it should be. It's about noticing it with kind of a bit of hindsight. The only caveat to that is that sometimes if you get yourself in a complete kerfuddle, I just made a word up, kerfuddle,
I like it.
I don't know. That's okay too. And I'll sort of walk you through if you do get into that state. And then sometimes when people say, oh no, I can't because this happens and the other happens,
Yep.
I'll explain what's going on. And then sometimes the only first step is becoming aware of when you enter that thought process. Because when we're stuck in it, we're too busy in it to notice it when we're struggling.
Yeah, hindsight is a really great thing, isn't it? I'd much rather know at the time what's going on, but we often don't. But I do know that with practice, I can catch myself when something's happening, and I can halt the process or break the process, or it ends quicker than what it normally does, as long as I've been practicing doing
which
that.
is the repetition.
Yeah.
But where I might, and we're still exploring. So this is our first, like last week was just scene setting. One before was just a chat to get to know one another a little bit. we're together for 12 weeks. There's no rush. But what I might say to you for now is take, in terms of the first step, if there's something you want to focus on for this week, it is only that. It's just be aware, oh, hang on a minute, am I just about to enter that state where I can't concentrate, I can't think, I'm angry, whatever it is, just be aware. Don't try to do anything with it. Just observe it. Oh,
just observe. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Because that's the problem. We don't recognize when we go into it, you know, and it's a day later, which is good because sometimes it used to take me months. But it would be nice to be more tuned into it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying just, so where you said is, I mean, it sounds great and you may well have a handle on it to an extent, but I would like you to avoid trying to stop it, interrupt it, slow it down. Not yet, because it could be, I don't know yet, but it could be that the attempt at doing that is coming from the wrong part of the brain. That's the part of the brain that says, oh, for God's sake, pull yourself together, stop doing that. Which makes the problem worse. So we almost want to take a little step back and go, okay, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to notice it.
And I think that is something I'm prone to do. I'm definitely a fixer. I don't understand how people can have things going on in their lives and not do anything about it, not react, because that's not how I am. And it served me in good stead. I am where I am today because I'm a doer and I'm a fixer, but there's also a side where it's to my detriment, where maybe it is that back part of the brain that is kind of pull yourself together, just get on with it. Whereas I could do with being a lot kinder to myself, and I would love to find another way of moving forward and achieving without the way I have been doing it up till now, which is exactly why life sent you to me, which is why I am where I, you know, sitting here in front of you today. So
That's
thank you.
You're welcome. It's going to be great. So as you start to build this evidence, so this is a little way down the line. This is not like now, this is not next week. This is just over the period that we're together. We're giving the brain more and more of those markers. We're calling them marathon markers now.
I like it.
January 2021, they've become marathon markers. It's then starts to look, so reticular activating system starts going, oh, is this what we're looking for now? And it becomes primed to look for more evidence of those things that you've already found.
I see. Okay. Yeah? I like it. Yes.
So, you know, let's just shift from a desert for a moment. Let's imagine that it's now a pebble strewn highway and there's rocks everywhere and stones everywhere, but you still can't see one, you know, it's just part of stones. That's it. And you've got to mark a pathway out on this. What you would probably start doing is identifying a specific type of rock or stone that would help you create the markers you wanted. You might paint them a specific color. Okay, right, here's the strategy. And over time, your brain starts to go, oh, she wants the big flat ones. Oh, there's one. And your brain is primed to show them to you. And that's where you begin to realize how extraordinarily powerful and beautiful and magnificent your brain is, and you want to hug it and kiss it and love it.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. I feel so inspired and excited and feel like I want to cry when you said that. That's just so delicious.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the evidence that this works is the fact that it's all been going horribly wrong is it's just doing that, but it's doing but it's doing it in a direction you don't want to be going. So we're just gently turning the ship.
So it really is just changing the direction. That the brain keeps on doing what it's always been doing, but you're just setting out better markers for it.
Yes, yes. It only looks for those other markers because it's learned from experience and repetition that that's what you want. So it just keeps finding you more of it.
That's lovely.
So as we start to create this new pathway, now we're out of the desert now. We're now in the stones. We're in the flat stone zone. And it's going, here's one. Do you want another one? Well, look at this one. This one's even better than that one. And it's showing you all these things. You're going, oh, great. Well, this is much more helpful. Thank you. And you're laying out, then it starts to make synaptic connections, which are your new neural pathways. And it will start to atrophy the old synaptic connections that took you down the pathways you didn't want to go, because you're clearly not using them anymore. It's like a path that's now overgrowing. No one uses this path anymore. Your brain is very resource, I was going to use the word creative, but I mean, it doesn't waste resources. It's like, well, if you're not using it, okay, I'll just get rid of it then. Don't need it. It doesn't purposefully store loads of junk just in case. And so that's, in a nutshell, and it's not really a nutshell, but it's quite a long nutshell. my analogies and metaphors go all over the place, don't they? Metaphors, oh yes.
I like it. I get it. I get it.
So I'm just going to remind you stuff we've done. So Tuesdays will be a bit like this. It's a lot of me going,
good.
But you don't have to, please, whatever you do not put yourself under pressure. I have to remember everything she said. What did she say? Let me go over my notes. What do I, no. You don't even have to read your flipping notes. You don't have to store this to memory. It will be recorded and I will upload it and you can watch it to your heart's content, but no one's going to be testing you. There's no exam. When we do our Friday session, I want the balance to shift. So it will be much less of me talking and much more of you talking.
I can do that.
Yay.
Okay, and I like what you've said before, that all of the stuff really will be repeated. You don't finish, I don't know, module 1 or ABC and then that's it, done, because all of the stuff is so interlinked and you can't speak about or discuss one thing without really bringing the other into it. We're going to go around the houses with this, which is good. That's what I need, repetition, basically.
Yeah, and we will go around the houses.
I like that. Before I forget to tell you, thank you for the book and the journal. It came, I was going to text you yesterday and I forgot. It came the day before and it's next to my bed and I've started reading a little bit. And again, it's stuff that I know that, I'm well, I don't know, not new to it, but I understand the premise of it. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how she explains things. So far, so good. I like it.
Yeah. Good. The book, I have a copy of the book myself, so I know what that's like. But the journaling thing, I've not seen a copy of it. What's the quality of it like? I'd just be interested.
The journal is great. What I really like is every day it's got little sections you won't be able to see.
Yes, that's what I liked about it. Yeah.
So today I choose to feel, today's focus, and there's only like 2 lines, and it's small, which I like.
Yes.
Today I feel inspired by today's good habits. And then there's a to-do list, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, but short. self-care, today I'm grateful for, today small or great victories, and today I learned. So actually reading it out, I just think, oh my God, that's quite a lot. But
Yeah.
I think it would be easy just to, you know, nobody's putting a gun to my head. I don't have to complete everything. I can just choose what I want to fill
Yes.
in.
Yes.
And then it's got another page like that.
Yeah.
And that says thoughts to remember, my goals for tomorrow, self-care ideas. Oi! And my favorite at the bottom, it says happiness is, and happiness spelled incorrectly.
Oh, brilliant. Oh dear.
It's got one P and it's on every
You're on every
page.
page.
Yeah. So, and then there's, you know, bigger ones like mindfulness daily journal. You've got a whole page. It's really lovely. It's got some colouring
Some
in.
colouring in. Good.
Yeah.
Good. I like that.
I like it. I like all the small little sections. There's a lot of them. So I'm thinking overwhelm.
Yeah.
But I think probably the way I might want to do it is just, you know, not longer than a sentence or just a word or something. And also because I've got my journal that I always write.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of in two minds because I really like it and I like the way it's set out. I think I'm going to do them side by side because it's a really nice visual to go to a date and just see, you know, a couple of words or something. So yeah, I like it. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I think you've got the right approach, which is just pick and choose, just do what works for you, even if it's one a day. I think what I liked about it was, as you say, the spaces are quite small. But I also liked the idea that even if you're picking and choosing, each and every part of it is focusing on something positive, which will help build that pathway.
Yes.
It doesn't matter which one you choose. You can choose a
Yes.
different one every day.
Yes. Yeah, it's just full of positivity. Once you've written everything down, the answer to those questions, it can only be good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is lovely. Yeah.
But
thank you.
Happiness is misspelling happiness.
I know, it's lovely.
I don't know. I must do one of those at some point. They're actually quite easy to produce, and I've thought about it in the past. Like, no, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. But
oh, add that to the list of something.
Yeah.
Something to do.
Indeed. Yeah. It's not.
Yours would be different because, you know, I have seen them before, and I don't buy them. Because I don't want to write pages and, you know, maybe before I would have, but menopause brain, seriously, I don't want to have to think that hard every day.
No.
Yeah. So yours would be different in that respect. You'd be doing it, you know, for brains like mine.
I would. Yeah. I would. Yeah. Right. I know I've kind of at you, but how are you feeling about what we've done, about where we're going?
I feel quite excited by it. I mean, not the idea, I don't know what the word is. The premise of it is, you know, it's quite simple actually, in a way. You just got to, it's like putting down little treats for your brain, so it just follows you, you know, and it always wants the treat. So in a way, the process is quite simple. Although I can see it would take practice and it would need coming back to time and time again, but it's a good thing to learn. And I'm quite excited that there might be a way out. And that's what's interesting about her book as well, because she also speaks about the imposter syndrome and the belief beneath it, but affirmations aren't enough, and telling yourself you're confident aren't enough. And that, I think, is where, okay, I've never done affirmations because I don't like them, but that is where I think I personally have become unstuck because I believe in my head that if I can push through, factor through, a lot of my terminology is push through and just bulldoze it and go for it, and it works. Doesn't always work, it
Yeah.
does, but it's kind of a painful process. This just sounds like a much gentler, intuitive way
Yeah. Yeah.
of being and coming to decisions. I like it. It's
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
time I've heard it set out like this. This is really helpful. Really,
I
really.
like it too. And I agree with you. I felt exactly the same, that there were lots of elements that you kind of knew, but there's aspects to it that she presents, which, that whole notion of don't keep pushing through this because you're making the problem worse,
Yeah,
is a good
is
one.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's just and normally I'm not that kind of a person. I mean, I know some people, maybe ambitious, career driven people will just push through regardless of the cost. I look at the cost and I think of my self care and my mental health, and I will adjust and be kinder and nicer. And I might not just push forward, but I'm still not listening.
Mm,
I'm still pushing forward, but in my own way.
mm,
Whereas, what did you say earlier? Kind of like working against yourself or working against your brain. Your brain works a certain way,
yeah.
and it sounds like we've all been pushing a boulder up a hill.
Yeah.
Whereas if we just take our cue from the brain and
Yeah.
give it what it wants,
Yeah.
it's going to
Yeah.
be an easier ride.
Yeah. Completely. It's I think it works really well with what we're doing, and you're quite
Mm,
right that this is an incredibly simple process.
mm,
You know, to the extent that for a long time I used to think this is too simple. Like, why would why would anyone do this? This is too simple. But I think that's the power of it,
mm.
because I listen to, read, hear people just overcomplicate the whole thing, you know, and the clinical profession is the worst offender.
And we always think everybody, we think things should be difficult, and, if it's worth doing, then, it takes sweat, blood, and tears or whatever. And actually, when you speak to sort of spiritual gurus or people like that, nothing is supposed to be, the spiritual world says nothing is supposed to be that difficult. We are these creatures, we're all in alignment. You just need to fucking breathe. And we don't, we bulldoze.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the cynical side of me thinks that the clinical profession has got so used to creating specialisms for itself, which create more jobs, which create more research posts, that they can't stop themselves over pathologizing, over complicating, saying you need a blue pill for this and a red one for that and a green one for that and a yellow one for this, and you need this kind of therapist and that kind of therapist, and going, actually that might
Mm,
not be the case.
I
Anyway,
agree. I agree.
I get off my soapbox now for a moment, and I will see you on Friday at
On
10 o'clock.
Friday at 10 o'clock. And now that I know where the password is, it's going to be a smooth transition to Facebook.
Good. That's excellent. If I'm on, I struggled to find it to begin with. I was going, where is it? You know, I was in the page going, where have I put it? Where is it? So
I knew it was somewhere, but
yeah,
I'll
me too.
remember now it's 3H Fest, and the H and the T are capital letters. So I won't forget that now.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easy enough. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I prefer not to put a password in, but then you hear about people hacking into stuff, and I thought, no.
I've never had to put a password, because when I get links, it's from my clients, like for my talks on Thursday and Friday. So the first time I had it with you, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then I forgot. Because I think I assumed once I'm in. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, no.
Use
It was
passwords for
just a little
everything.
layer of arguably security. I don't know if it is, but
Security.
it's,
Yeah,
yeah, it just seems like it might be.
exactly. All
All
right.
right. So the only thing I want you to do is think of your number and put that in.
That's great. Yeah, I will do. Thank you.
I'll-
What is the question up on the board? Remind me what the numbers are, the scale is?
Oh, 10 is great.
No, I mean, what's the question?
The question is, that's a good point. I will put it in there then. So just thinking about your overall sense of well-being, not
Okay.
isolated to anything in particular, just your general sense of how do I feel today? How good do I feel? And that can relate to work, relationships, life, the meaning of life, everything.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right.
Okay, lovely to see
Great,
you.
thank you. I'll see you on Friday.
Yeah, look forward to that. Take care.
All right, Shirley, look forward to it. Bye.
Yeah, bye.